This is an Undiscovered Legacy production and proud member of Pod Nation Media Network.
You know, it's something that I talk about a lot when I have clients that I work with that say, well, who am I to tell anyone how they can do something? And who am I to share my story? And who am I to teach anyone anything? And it's the failures that give you the right. It's all the times you didn't get it right and that you completely screwed it up. That gives you the credibility, that gives you the right to teach. Because you've done it wrong before, you've had the experience, you've been in the trenches. And that's what makes you a good teacher. That's what gives you the right to tell that story. That's where the lessons are.
Salutations, Skoob believers, and we are here again with another amazing entrepreneur. Today we're here with Hannah. Hey, Hannah, how are you?
Very good, thank you.
All right. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to be on the Undiscovered Entrepreneur, get across the start line. Super appreciate your time.
Yeah, no, I'm really happy that I'm here.
All right. Awesome. All right. So the very first question here, it's kind of a tricky one. Okay. You ready? Okay.
Yeah.
Here we go. Yes. Are you a Skoob believer?
I am.
All right. Thanks, Hannah. Thanks for being a Skoob believer. Super appreciate you. Oh, all right. All right, Hannah. So what I like to do here with all my guests is kind of get an idea of who you are, what your entrepreneur adventure is, and how you actually got across the start line in your entrepreneur adventure.
Yeah. Where would you like me to begin?
Oh, I think before we hit the record button, a little behind the scenes there, you told me that you started when you were 8 years old, and I'm really kind of curious how that actually got started. So let's go all the way back to when you were 8 and what you actually did there that led you up to possibly where you are today.
Yeah, so I guess the very first business thing I ever did was I wanted money to go to the pool and go do all these fun things, and I wasn't able to make enough money mowing the lawns and washing the dishes. So I went and made these bracelets from my willow tree out the front and spray painted them with glitter and went door to door selling them to my neighbors all around the entire neighborhood with some absolute lie of a story that was like, it's really important we get these done. And I funded myself for a good month with this little side venture I was doing.
That's awesome. So you just made these out of, was it just bracelets of flowers, or what was it there?
It was, so on a willow tree, the willow tree's branches are really long and thin, like they hang down. And so I pulled them all apart and weaved them together into a bracelet and spray painted them with glitter and then went door to door selling them.
That is so ingenious. That is so ingenious for an 8-year-old to be able to come up with that. I was when I was younger, I was in charge of all the the candy sales and the magazine sales. Over here, we all make all our little kids a little Amway salespeople. So whenever I was doing that, I was always first in line to start selling things like that. So that's where I got my first start too when I was so young. So you did that.
Yeah.
What was next? What was next in line for Hannah?
So when I was about maybe 13 or 14, I very naughtily jumped into the rave scene, and I was out partying really hard out at the raves that I was absolutely not supposed to be at. And there was this woman that was a dancer and she made all her own stuff, and I really looked up to her and I thought, I'm going to do that. That's what I'm going to do. So I sold my drum kit, I bought a industrial sewing machine, and I started making these fat pants and gaiters. And my boyfriend, when I was about 14, was an electro technician. So I made him build me all these circuit boards that would go into the pants and into the outfits that would have little switches inside of them. So we had these light up, make the lights go faster, make the lights go slower, full on outfits, which got so big, I ended up very illegally inside clubs on the weekend with stalls selling to, these 20-year-olds all of these clothes. And I ended up getting a deal with a dance company to make their dancers their outfits. So that was a full-on business, which did no accounting for. I made so much money out of it. It all went back into partying, absolutely. And I learned so many lessons in it about discombobulated clients and people that wanted their money back and what happens when you don't account and all this sort of stuff. And at that time, by this time, I was reading every business book that I could get my hands on. I was like, I'm retiring by the time I'm 21. This is my life. And this is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to become the most famous, rave fashion designer in the world.
That's awesome. Do you, is it, I'd love if you could give me some pictures or something like that of those clothing. I would just love that because that. So the thing about me is this is going to get a little personal, folks. Okay, so when I was growing up, I wanted to be a karaoke DJ and music DJ and mix my own music.
Uh-huh.
And that was actually one of the things I wanted to do was actually be the guy that controls the music at the raves. So I can only imagine what that would have been
Ah,
like.
yeah.
But
Yep,
yeah,
it was a time.
yeah. Oh boy. Okay. So you did these clothes and you sold them. It sounded like you were kind of building the airplane on the way off the cliff there.
100%.
Oh yeah.
I had absolutely no idea what I was doing. I made stuff that fell apart sometimes and it would get sent back and I would fix it. And I had to, like, I ended up going to fashion design school, which I refused to finish. I just wanted access to the center that they had to use their things and how do I do these little components. And I got enough information out of it where I was like, that's enough. Now I can keep running the business. So I remember I still have it somewhere, actually, the very first pieces of paper where I was recording how much I spent, how much I was charging, what my profit was. And I think I did it 3 times. And then I got so busy. I was like, yeah, don't worry about that. We're making money. It's fine. So yeah, I made everything up as I was going along.
The way you describe how you learn things is very interesting to me because you're doing something that I wish more people would do nowadays, and that's called on-time learning, where you learn just
Yeah.
enough to where you can continue on with what you're doing instead of just in case learning, where you're just learning as much as you can. You're taking so much time to learn everything that you might not even use. So
Yeah.
I love that early on you were doing the right thing, even though you didn't think, it might not have felt like the right thing at the time. You were actually doing something that most entrepreneurs don't do.
It didn't feel like it felt like the right thing to me and it might like on the outside I had my father who was like you need to learn all this stuff first, you need to get this right, you need to have a plan. I was like, a plan? What are you talking about? I'm fine. So I battled against these external forces the entire time that were trying to tell me to be super prepared and learn all this stuff first and have these incredible plans, write the 700-page business plan. In fact, I think I was 15. I did this like certificate in business because I wasn't very good at listening at school because I wanted to do what I wanted to do. So I did this business course and I still have that too. It's this like 100-page document business plan. And we spent half the year developing this business plan to then develop, like to run this business, which we ran for like 6 weeks. And it made no sense to me. I'm like, these things aren't going to happen. It's not going to work out this way. We just need to start doing stuff.
Yeah, and I've seen so many businesses that do the 70-page work plan, or they have this big thick book that's that's this business plan. I personally 1-page business plan with just the
Yeah.
basics. That's all you
Yeah.
really need to get started. The rest can come later. You really need to do whatever it takes just to get across the start line. That's what I call that, a get across the start line, an entrepreneur adventure. Don't waste so much time trying to come up with these big official things. Just go out and do the thing.
It's true because you have no idea what's actually going to happen once you start. Things never work out how you plan they're going to work out. Like things get thrown in the spanner everywhere. And I think sometimes when you kind of get a calling to start something, I feel like you don't know what that's for. You might think that you know what it's for and you might have this grand plan, but I feel like the universe is a little bit, if you just start here, I'm going to take you on the ride. And I've had to learn this lesson massively in the last couple of years is to let go of the outcome. Yeah, okay, like having 560 stores is an awesome idea, or having this like grand plan is a good idea. But I don't know what's in store for me. I've just got to keep following the next steps and following the next steps and get out of my way, get out of my own way.
Yeah, that's a big part of it right now too, because like a lot of times we get our heads so full of just stuff. We start turning into our own worst criticizer, and then we just need
Yeah.
to learn to get out of our own way and just do the thing because the universe will point us in the right direction as long as we're making the steps towards something, and it might not even be where you end up. Most time it's not where you end up.
Most time it's not. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's never where you think you're going to go. If
Well,
you can let go of the outcome and if you can let go of this like really solid ending that you think needs to happen. The amount of years and money and energy you can waste trying to reach something that's actually not where you're supposed to go.
Well, yeah, I mean, I wanted to be a karaoke DJ and a music DJ. I ended up a podcaster. I don't know exactly how that worked out. I don't even know if those things go together, but here I am, and it's been a wonderful ride since. So, okay, so
Well,
you
I would argue in that sense, okay.
go, no, no, go, please.
When I see that, I'm seeing someone that wanted to have the spotlight on him, to be seen, to have all this attention, and there's joy inside of that. And you've gotten the same result, you've gotten the same feeling, just with a different way of making it happen.
Yeah, I do like to be in the spotlight, but that's just me. Okay, so yes. You nailed me good, Hannah. Thank you very much for that. But I mean, okay, so you did that. You did the clothing line. We were 14, 15, and now we're further along here. So where have we grown from there? Where did that take you?
So, I mean, I went into the workforce, like I got pulled out of that business. My dad sent me overseas. I was being an absolute menace in that world. Of course, the rave scene, you can imagine what goes with that. And I came back and I got a sales job and I ended up in the sales world for a little while. And there was just this part of me that could not follow the rules, that could not do things other people's way, that was frustrated by the systems, that constricted everything. And the last job that I had, I was doing that much work to make it better. I was like, okay, well, why aren't I doing this for myself? Hang on, what am I even doing in a job? I never wanted to have a job. I was meant to be running businesses. I got lost along the way. And there's reasons I got lost along the way. I had all sorts of traumatic stuff happen and I just got lost. And I remembered it's no business. You're meant to run businesses, build empires. This is the thing. So I walked out of my job on a Friday and I said, I'm never going back to work again. I don't recommend this, by the way.
Yeah.
But I walked out of my job on Friday and I went, I'm never going back to work again. And I'm like, okay, I've got two mortgages. I'm 24. I've got two mortgages. I've got all these bills to pay. What am I going to do? And so by Monday, I had developed a marketing business. I was working in sales inside of a marketing company, and I thought I can do this better than them. And so by Monday, I had a business registered. I had my logo that I'd used from a sales team that I'd had years ago. My dad actually flew up. I was in a different state. He flew up in a panic, like, what are you doing? You can't do this. You have two mortgages. You can't just start a business like this. You have $5,000 left in your bank account. What? You're insane. And I was like, well, this is what I'm doing. So either help or leave. And he'd been in business a little while. So we did this gigantic map of how it was going to go on the wall. And I hired someone to build me a website with the last $5,000 I had. And I just went out and hustled. And I signed up my gym that I was training at. I signed up one of the trainers that was there that had his own little IT business. And I hustled and knocked on doors and went to businesses and did everything I could. And I ran that business for a decade in all sorts of different ways. It turned into a coaching business at some point. I was teaching business owners how to do their own marketing, all around the mindset. And it served me really, really well because inside of all of that, I became a professional athlete. So I was able to work from home, do whatever hours I wanted to do, and still lead this athlete life and have those dreams met. Even in COVID, like everything, I lost all of my clients overnight and I just ran out there helping other businesses survive COVID and getting paid little amounts for that. And we are here today. So 5 years ago, I started another business, which was a recovery center. And I started it because I wanted all of the recovery stuff for the athlete version of me. And it's now developed into a international, deep somatic, life-changing process where we run programs to get people very, very, very unstuck, solve their health issues, solve their relationship issues, solve their business issues, all with very deep somatic processing. So now, I'm living the dream that 8-year-old Hannah was seeing in her future.
So that's like we were saying earlier, that's a far cry from creating rave clothing.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
But it's still and here's the thing I really like too, especially when I'm listening to entrepreneur adventures like yours. If we didn't take that road, if we didn't go down that road with when you were 8 and making the bracelets to the 14 or 15 making the rave clothing, you would never have made it to where you are today, because you needed to have those experiences in your life to make you who you are now, and to be able to have the storyline to do what you're able to do. If any of that would have
Yeah.
been different, if any of that would have been changed, we probably wouldn't even be talking right now. And that's why I really like starting from the very beginning, because you could see the storyline and the hero's journey of where you started to where you are now.
Yeah. Yeah, I 100% agree. You know, it's something that I talk about a lot when I have clients that I work with that say, well, who am I to tell anyone how they can do something? And who am I to share my story? And who am I to teach anyone anything? And it's the failures that give you the right. It's the all the times you didn't get it right and that you completely screwed it up. That gives you the credibility. That gives you the right to teach because you've done it wrong before. You've had the experience. You've been in the trenches. And that's what makes you a good teacher. That's what gives you the right to tell that story. That's where the lessons are.
All right, Skoob Believers, I want you to, like, we're going to clip that out, what you just said, because if you really think about everything that you said just now, not only does it go over imposter syndrome and how it makes you feel, but how we can frame our mindset to be able to overcome that imposter syndrome with telling yourself, hey, I lived these experiences. These are my experiences and nobody else's. That gives me the credibility. I have the experiences now. That gives me the credibility to be able to talk about what I'm talking about now today and help other people do these things that I talk about. So that's amazing, Hannah. I know that just kind of came right off the cuff there, but it really kind of gets down to the center of imposter syndrome and how we can overcome it.
Yeah, I mean the sentence actually came from my partner as I was taking him through a process which he had been feeling like a fraud. He was scared to step into being an author and being this person that would jump on my podcast and speak these things into the world. There was this part of him stuck inside that he didn't even know that was there that felt like a fraud. And he actually landed in that exact sentence. And I use it all the time now of, wait a minute, it's because I've done it wrong that I have the right to now say it because I've lived it and I've kept that.
And now people can benefit from the experiences of our failures, because now we have the story that we can tell them. So when they come across something similar in their lifetime or in their goals and whatnot, they could take your experience and
Yeah.
say, okay, this is what she did to get over this. Maybe I need to do something similar.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it happens in every part of growth, right? Like it happens at the start of business. It happens in a year into business. It happens 15 years into business. The next level up, the imposter syndrome starts to creep in. Can I rise here? Can I be in these rooms? Can I be in front of these people? Do I belong here? And there's all sorts of stuff that's tied up into it. I had a client recently that didn't feel like he was worthy unless he had lots of money in the bank account. So wasn't putting himself out there in the world because he didn't value who he was as a human. And I think what's true, especially in this world of AI that's happening right now, is people are desperate for authenticity. They're desperate for what have you actually got to give me as a human? We've got we can AI whatever we want, but as a human being, how are you going to actually help me? And whether you're a plumber or you're doing what I'm doing or whatever it is that you're doing, people buy the human experience. They want to work with a human being. We're so stuck in our virtual worlds now. Is what is my experience going to be like with this human? And the only way that that works is if you show up exactly as you are and know that there is enough out there in the world for everyone. And it's going to take you to show up as you are for those people to find you.
Flaws and all. Because that, I mean, that's what
Flaws
makes
and
us,
all.
that's what makes us human. That's what makes us who we are. Is it's okay to say or or flub a little bit. I do a lot of flubbing myself, but I mean that's what makes us human. I mean, if you're going to do something
Yeah.
perfectly, that's almost inhuman. I mean, I could delete all the ums and ahs out of a podcast, and it's not going to sound right. But
Yeah.
at the same time, if I
And
leave, go ahead.
well, I think it's also, we can get really lost in this because of the online world as well. Like you see this perfectly curated content and information out there, and well, they're doing it perfectly. I could never be like that. And when you go and meet your heroes, they're human and they've got all the same flaws and all the same problems, all the same stuff running underneath. There is nothing special. They just decided to do something about it.
Yeah, they decided this is what I need to do to grow and become who I'm meant to be instead of hiding behind perfectionism. That's what we kind of hit that. I'm going to hit on that a little bit too. Is we try to be perfect, but we get so caught up in wanting to be perfect that we don't do anything else but try to be perfect. We don't put out that episode or we don't put out that product because we don't think it's good enough yet. But it's never going to be good enough if you keep changing it over and over and over and over again. So it's very important to maybe iterate a little bit, but don't not put it out there to find out what you need to do to improve it.
And that's the only way to know how it needs improving is to put it out there not well. And then you get the feedback and then you find out what works and what doesn't work. There's no way you're going to figure that out planning and perfectioning and getting it perfect before it goes anywhere. And if you're talking about business and making money, money loves speed. Money loves action. You move fast on things, it comes fast to you. I know that's true. So throw that perfection out of your entire system. Easier said than done. And I could speak to that for a long time. Perfectionism comes from somewhere. It comes from not being told that you're good enough unless you show up perfectly as a child. It comes from parents that wanted you to have the best grades, or you weren't good enough in their eyes, or you didn't get the love that you needed, or whatever it was. It's old patterns that are running your system. It's not what's true today.
We definitely need to unlearn what we've learned in the past and what we've been told in the past in order for us to succeed. It's kind of counterintuitive, but at the same time, if you really think about it, if you stay doing the old ways, old things are going to happen to you, which more times is not, it's not probably what you're looking for. We want to move forward, not backwards. So we have to iterate. We have to understand that we need to unlearn these things to move forward.
Yeah.
All right. And I'm gonna ask you kind of, this is kind of a question to me and for my school believers more than anything else. But when we do experience imposter syndrome, like we talked about, or failure, or perfectionism, can that be a positive thing at the same time too? You think? Because now that we're moving forward, if we're feeling these things, we know we're heading in the right direction. That we need to overcome these things to get to the other side of them. Does that make sense to you?
I think what you're speaking to there is the uncomfortability of change.
Mm,
And when you go to do something new, it's supposed to feel uncomfortable. It's supposed to trigger all of these things. Of course, all of that is going to surface. And to me, that's a guide of, well, you're on a path that's going to take you somewhere, because if you're not experiencing those things, you're probably staying very much the same and you're going to not go very far. No matter how good you become at dealing with imposter syndrome and dealing with perfectionism, taking yourself to a new level and doing something that you've never done before and changing the way that you're operating, changing the systems you're operating in, is starting a business. You've got a new identity you're bringing on. It is going to be uncomfortable. To go from I have a job to I'm starting a business, or this is a brand new thing. There's a full identity shift, and there's a grief in that. There's a grief in letting go of that identity. So it's not supposed to feel amazing and like butterflies and all of these sorts of things. If it felt like that, everyone would do it.
exactly, exactly. That makes one of my favorite people I talk about is Jim Henson, and the creator of the
Mhm.
Muppets, because he always went for the hard shots. He always got uncomfortable underneath the puppet, whatever, to get that perfect shot. Because he always said, if it was easy, everybody would be doing it. So let's do the hard stuff so we can actually get those shots and make the difference and make ourselves different than everybody else that's out there right now. So whenever I hear that, that's the first thing that comes to mind.
Yeah, that's really cool. It's a
Yeah.
nice way to put it. Yeah.
Plus, I'm a huge Hanson fan, so what can I say? Um, so what what I'd like to know here is, now I'm sure you said you have a podcast, yes?
I do. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And you've been on a few podcasts, and I'm sure you've heard what's your hardest pitfall, what's the hardest thing you've gone through, blah 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 blah. So I'd like to put a little bit of spin on that, and I'd like to know what's the hardest pitfall you've ever experienced that you're proud of. What's the one thing that, like, I'm glad I had this negative experience because after I got through that, this huge positive thing happened at the end of it. Do you have anything like that ever happen to you?
I have had so many of those, it's not funny. I think I have I think I have that regularly, and I think that's a sign of growth. That's a sign of you doing something. And it's a perspective. If you've got that perspective, then, it happens so regularly, it's not funny. But what's a really big one? When when I first started my current business, my me and my dad started the business together, and it was this big beautiful thing. We had butted heads our entire lives. We were at war. And when I was about 30, we started unpacking it and healing our relationship. And then we started this business together, and he put in a lot of money into it, and he couldn't handle the stress of the up and downs. It was very volatile in its
Mm.
first year, and he was already running his own business. He already had a lot going on, and so he bounced. And he was like, we need to shut it down. And I said, well, I'm not going to leave, but you can leave if you want. And it was painful that we couldn't do it together. He actually ended up losing his wife out of it. She left because he was putting all his attention into me. Like, there was all of this really hard stuff that happened. And I didn't realize at the time, but how angry I was that he had abandoned me inside of that. And now I had this gigantic business to take care of, with all of the legal stuff and accounting stuff that he used to take care of. And now I had all this responsibility myself. And it took me years to rebuild it into what it is now. And I've had this moment happen a lot over my life with him and with males that have been business partners or relationships. But the moment he stepped out was the moment I was able to stand on my own 2 feet. And the moment he stepped out, I was able to start trusting myself and listening to myself and what was true for me and right for me. And we never would have turned it into what it is today if he had stayed in, and he never would have survived, and our relationship never would have survived if he had stayed in. Now, I didn't have the funding anymore. I didn't have the capital anymore. I didn't have the support anymore. But what it gave me was forced me into learning all of these things, forced me into having moments where there was nothing left and I had to pull myself out of the dirt. It forced me into the moments of, well, you're hearing something within you that needs to shift here, and you don't have to ask for permission, and there's no one else to give you approval. You just have to do it on your own. And that's made me an incredible business owner.
What made you stronger? I mean, it's a rough thing to go through, but ultimately, in the end, it made you a stronger person, made you a stronger entrepreneur. So, yeah, it was definitely a positive thing at the end of that. There's a lot to go through, though.
Yeah. Oh, and I'm so glad. And now, the other side of it is he's been a client of the business that exists today, and we are best friends. And for the first time in our relationship, he looks at it and goes, holy, like, you're amazing, and I can't believe you pulled this off. And I needed to do it on my own. I really needed to do it on my own.
I bet you got a big fat I told you so out of it, too, huh?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, good. That was worth
It's
it
an
then.
unspoken. He knows, I know. I make a little face. He knows.
All right, that's awesome. So, if you were to come across a brand new entrepreneur that's just getting started, like probably most of my Skoob believers out there right now, what good one piece of solid advice would you give them? What first step would you have them take?
You need to get really comfortable with it getting hard. There is, in the start of a business, and this can take years, you will have these dips. And it's Seth, this is a Seth Godin thing, and it's saved my life 1,000 times over. I have two things, but this is really, really important. You will start and it will feel amazing, and you'll have dopamine and you'll have endorphins, and you'll think this is the best thing that you've ever done. And then it will get hard. You may not quit then. This is when you double down. This is when you work harder. This is when you push harder. This is when you invest more money. Every time it dips, you double. And that's how you survive the growth part. That's how you survive it until it's stable. That's really important. And the other thing that I must say is, your business is a reflection of your internal landscape. If you're going to invest in anything, invest in yourself, invest in how you operate, invest in your belief systems, invest in how your human being operates, because your business is a direct reflection.
All right, that's some great advice. Yeah, trust the gap,
Yeah.
live in the gap. Right. What is the name of the book that he's put out? It's all about the gap. I mean,
It's the dip. It's
the
the
dip.
dip,
That's what
and
it
it's the
was.
best.
Ah,
I
my
have it
poor
next.
brain. I was
Yeah,
so
I have it
close
next
to
to
it.
my bed, and every time something gets hard, I have that book.
Yeah. Yeah, I've read that book several times myself too. Definitely one. We'll put that one in the show notes, y'all, so you can look into that. Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
fantastic book by Seth Godin. So thank you for that. That's
yeah.
awesome. So I kind of have a tradition with all my guests. In the next 6 months, where do you see yourself and your company? Do you have a goal for yourself in the next 6 months?
In a sense, yes and no. We spoke about letting go of the end result and trying not to control what that end result looks like. So I kind of have let go of these goals that are tangible, because I think that really gets myself in my own way a lot of the time. I do know financially that we will probably 6 times what we're doing. So 6 months, 6 times our revenue. That's happening. And I then just trust what's unfolding in front of me. And this is important. This is an important thing for me for this particular business. I've had so many goals and end goals, and this is what it needs to do. And every time I do that, I get stuck in holding on really tightly to that, when I've just got to kind of let it unfold. So there's some financial goals in there, which is 6 times what we're doing right now. Easily done. The plan that plan is there, and what that turns into, I'm happy. I know that this is taking me where I'm supposed to go.
So this is going to be very curious for me. So here's what I'd like to do. In the next 6 months, I'd like to follow up with you, have another interview just like this, and see where it's actually
Yeah.
carried you. Because now we're not. It's such an open field now. It's not. I want to do this, 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 and this. It's whatever comes. So now I'm curious to see what actually comes for you in the next 6 months. So what I'd like to do is follow up with you in
Look,
six
it's a
months and see how it goes.
let's do it, because it's a really interesting time. I've just had an old friend of mine who reminds me of me when I was 25, and she wants to be my apprentice in life and she's starting next week with me. There's like this team that's kind of merging around me, which I didn't go and find. It's just kind of coming towards me. So something is being born here. It'll be a very interesting conversation.
All right. So then we'll follow up and see how your apprentice is doing.
Yeah.
All right. That's awesome. Okay, Hannah, this is your time to shine. This is the time where I want you to advertise yourself. How do we get a hold of you and all that good stuff? Okay, ready, set,
Yeah.
go.
So, as a business owner, as I said earlier, the one thing that you need to invest in is yourself, and the internal landscape that you're running, whether it's the fears around being seen, around holding money, around receiving money, making sure your relationships and your health are intact while you grow your business so you don't burn out. That is all done internally from a somatic place. And that's the program that I run. Taking care of your health, your emotional health, your physical health, your relationship health, so that you can be the absolute best version of yourself and open up your capacity for more money, for more love, for more health, for more everything. So the business that I have is called The Jungle. You can find it at thejungle.net.au. If you want to just jump straight into content and sort of watch some stuff around it, it's integratedaf.com. And the podcast is intothejungle.com. Into the Jungle podcast, and that has so many cool stories about my clients, so much information about what we do and how we run. But if you feel like you want to level up in any way, this is where you need to come. Happens the fastest it is the fastest, most efficient way to get that done.
All right, Hannah, thank you so much. Thank you for taking the time out of your day and to being an undiscovered entrepreneur, getting across the start line. I really, really enjoyed this conversation. I'm glad I was able to make you laugh every once in a while. That's always a goal of mine. So thank you so much.
I think the world is hilarious. So
That kind of works out. All right.
Yeah.
All right, Skoob Believers.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Skoob Believers, make sure you stay tuned for the wrap up. Okay, everybody. Thank you. Bye-bye. All right, Skoob Believers, that was Hannah. What a great conversation we had with Hannah. Her insights were amazing, and I loved her story, starting from 8 years old, making little trinkets and stuff to sell door to door, all the way to where she made it today. What a fantastic story. But I do have two major takeaways I want to make sure that you're paying attention to and that you are definitely aware of. Your failures are not evidence that you do not belong. They are the exact credentials that give you the right to learn, teach, and inspire others. We use the failures as evidence that we've been there, that we've done that, and we know we've made the mistakes for you first. That way you don't make the same mistakes that we did. And that's why we can actually teach you these things, because we've lived it. And you can build authority off of those mistakes. So at the very end, pull yourself out of the dirt. You are not failing. You are giving yourself authority to teach others the mistake that you made. The moment everything falls apart is not the moment to quit. It is the moment to double down, because the dip is not a dead end. It's the exact place where everyone else stops and where everything you have been working towards is waiting for you on the other side. And that's what I'm talking about all the time too, Skoob Believers, is about running towards fear, running towards those mistakes, running towards imposter syndrome, because on the other side of those things, on the other side of those emotions, on the other side of those negative beliefs, is the one thing the world's been waiting for, and that's you to succeed. So when you're feeling this discomfort, it's not so much as a warning sign, but a proclamation, proof that you're going in the right direction. And with that, I'm going to say thank you, Skoob Believers, for another fantastic episode, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. All right, everybody. Thank you. Bye-bye.